Have you ever had the feeling that everything in your life has a deeper meaning, even if sometimes it seems difficult to understand? What if each meeting, every challenge, and every victory were actually pieces of a larger plan, drawn by a divine intelligence that knows every detail of your journey? Life, with its joys and pains, forms a carefully sewn mosaic for purposes that we cannot always see immediately. The most difficult situations, no matter how much they hurt, can be doors for transformative discoveries. By observing more attention and sensitivity, we realize that there are hidden messages in the silences, obstacles, and even the most common moments of everyday life. This reflection is an invitation to look with other eyes of faith, hope, and delivery. But before you follow, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Here you will find inspiration to live more sense every day. Adversities are part of human existence and, although uncomfortable, carry the seed of growth within themselves. It is not easy to welcome difficult days, but it is precisely in them that we have a chance to develop new emotional perceptions and skills. When we look at difficulties as disguised opportunities, we can extract deep learning from them. Trials often reveal our aspects that we didn't even know existed. They test us, shape and strengthen us in silence. Life does not challenge us for nothing. Every pain is an invitation to become more conscious, more mature, more integers. It is in the heat of struggles that true transformation is born. When we face periods of uncertainty, we have two options: resist or learn. Resistance tends to prolong suffering, while learning leads us to new paths. When we welcome the discomfort with opening, it is no longer a weight and turns into a guide. Crises show us what needs to be reviewed, abandoned, or transformed. The pain points to aspects that can no longer be ignored. It is in this review movement that we are pushed out of the comfort zone. And despite fear, the change that is born from there usually leads us to more authentic and true places. Growth does not happen in calm, but in the confrontation. The pain takes us out of the automatic, forces us to look inside and question what really matters. What was once unnoticed now gains another value. We have learned to value relationships, health, spirituality, inner peace. What once seemed indispensable can prove superficial. Difficulties teach us to re-signify priorities and seek meaning in little things. It is in this review that we are reborn with more true. Spirituality plays a fundamental role in this process of maturity. When we trust that there is a larger plan guiding our steps, we can cross the storms more serenity. Faith anchors us, gives us direction when everything around seems chaotic. She reminds us that we are not alone, that there is purpose even in the apparent empty. This confidence helps us see beauty even in pain. And more than that, it invites us to turn each scar into strength. The growth that comes from adversity is not instantaneous but gradual. Sometimes we can only realize its fruits long after. It's like a seed planted on the dark soil. At first it looks like nothing is happening, but gradually something starts to sprout. What today seems confused can make perfect sense tomorrow. It is therefore so important to cultivate patience and faith during difficult times. They are not the end, they are bridges for the new. It is important to remember that growing is also an act of courage. It requires willingness to look ahead what hurts without running away. It means taking responsibility for your own journey, even when everything seems to collapse. It is even to get up with fear. It is still without guarantees. Each step in this direction is a vote of confidence in its own life. And this commitment to yourself is what strengthens us to move on. Life constantly invites us to look inside, even when everything around us screams for external distractions. True transformation does not happen on stage, but behind the scenes of the soul. It is in silence, in the moments of pause, and in the inner listening that we access what we really are. We often seek away answers when the deepest wisdom already dwells within us. To start a journey of self-knowledge is to commit to the truth, even when it hurts. It is abandoning masks and making room for authenticity to flourish. External change begins with an internal movement. Turning inside requires courage to face shadows we avoid for years. Trauma, fears, insecurities, and old pains can surface in this process. But instead of fearing them, we can welcome them as parts of us who are careful. True healing happens when we stop fighting what we feel and come to understand what is behind each emotion. Transformation does not come from denial, but from conscious acceptance. It only heals what is viewed with love and presence. In this process, spirituality acts as a lighthouse that illuminates the path of reconnection. She reminds us that we are guided by something bigger and that we are not alone on this journey. Prayer, meditation, contemplation, and reflection help us silence external noise and hear the voice of the soul. As we strengthen this connection, we begin to trust more in life and less in control. We learn to surrender to the flow, with faith that each step has its purpose. The inner journey also helps us develop a more sensitive listening to what is around us. We come to see others with more compassion, for we understand that each one carries their own internal struggles. Judgments give way to empathy, and the hurry gives way to presence. The more we know each other, the more we can understand the other. Self-knowledge then transforms into a bridge for deeper and more true relationships. In the end, the true spiritual journey is about remembering who we are, beyond the pains, labels, and expectations. It is about returning to what is essential, what makes us human and divine at the same time. When we recognize the light within us, we stop seeking out what already lives in our hearts. And from this reunion with the sacred interior, we are able to live with more purpose, fullness, and peace. We can't always understand why certain things happen in our lives. There are times when everything seems to fall apart, and even with effort, we cannot see meaning in suffering. In these periods, trusting that there is a greater purpose behind each event is what keeps us up. Faith becomes an invisible foundation that sustains our hope, even when we see no way out. God, in His wisdom, sees beyond what our eyes reach. Sometimes He takes us from where we are to take us exactly where we need to be. And even if we don't understand now, one day it will make sense. Trusting in a divine plan is a daily exercise of surrender and humility. It is recognizing that we do not have all the answers and that it does not make us weak, but human. When we give up absolute control, we free ourselves from anxiety that tries to predict the future all the time. Confidence teaches us to live the present with serenity, knowing that each step is being guided by loving hands. This delivery does not mean passivity, but wisdom to discern when acting and when only trusting. Faith gives us strength to follow even in the dark, because we know that there is light ahead. Often God's plans do not coincide with ours, and this can generate frustration. We want quick answers, immediate solutions, easy paths. But the greater purpose is not always revealed in our time, but at the right time. When we trust in this divine time, we develop patience and gratitude for the process. We understand that each apparent delay carries a hidden teaching, that every deviation leads us to something better than we expected, and that nothing is by chance, everything cooperates for a greater good. Confidence in divine purpose invites us to look at life with other eyes. We come to realize beauty in the details, meaning in difficulties, and love even in losses. This vision strengthens us, as it transforms each situation into an opportunity to grow, learn, and approach God. It is not a question of denying reality, but of living it in more depth. The pain remains pain, but it is no longer in vain. It becomes part of a sacred process of soul cut. By allowing suffering to touch us, we also open doors for empathy. We come to better understand the pain of others because we recognize ours. Wounds make us more human, more sensitive, more attentive. People who face deep pain usually develop a more genuine compassion. And this compassion connects us, unites us, and strengthens us as a community. Shared pain becomes lighter. And through mutual welcome, let us heal not only ourselves, but also to those who walk by our side. Spirituality offers a firm foundation in these difficult times. When we understand that suffering is not the end, but part of a process, we gain strength to cross it. Faith reminds us that even in the shadows there is a light that never turns out. Prayer becomes a refuge, a bridge between our pain and the loving presence of God. No need to have all the answers. Just trust that there is a meaning that will gradually be revealed. Suffering can be the beginning of a new phase, more conscious, more connected, more true. Suffering can also be an invitation to transform habits, standards, and worldviews. It often comes to warn us that something needs to change: a toxic relationship, a purposeless life, a heart disconnected from itself. Pain forces us to pause, reflect, revise. It is a call to renewal. When we look honestly at the causes of our suffering, we also find the seed of liberation. Everything that hurts us can also heal us as long as we are willing to listen to what this pain wants to show us. Learning to suffer with wisdom does not mean resigning yourself passively to suffering, but make it significant. It is to use pain as fuel to grow, to deepen, to become more whole. This attitude transforms suffering into strength. We are not defined by the pain we face, but by how we choose to deal with them. Each scar can tell a story of overcoming, of light amid darkness. And as we look at our wounds with love, we find that they are also part of our beauty. In the end, welcoming suffering with wisdom is an act of courage and humility. It is accepting that life will not always be easy, but even in the most difficult days there is something sacred happening within us. When we look at suffering as part of the way, we stop fearing it and respect it. And in this respect, we find peace. The peace of who knows that he is living in depth, with delivery, with faith. And that even the most intense pains can flourish in learning, compassion, and light. Amid the storms of life, it is easy to be carried away by discouragement and doubt. Contrary winds make us feel small, vulnerable, as if we were alone on the high seas. But it is exactly at these times that hope becomes more necessary. It is the anchor that prevents us from being taken by despair. Having hope is not to deny the difficult reality, but to choose to believe that it will not be eternal. It is looking at the cloudy sky and remembering that behind the clouds the sun still shines. Hope is silent but firm, and his presence changes everything. Faith and hope go together, as sisters that are leaning in the darkest hours. Faith connects us to the divine, and hope drives us to continue even when the path seems invisible. They are the ones who get up when everything in us wants to give up. Hope is the thread of light that crosses the darkness, showing that there are still paths, there are still possibilities. It's not empty optimism, it's deep confidence. She is born when we choose to believe, even without proof. When we keep our hearts open, even in the face of pain. Keeping hope alive requires daily care. It is like a flame that needs to be fed with affection, patience, and faith. Small gestures, such as a word of support, a sincere prayer, or a memory that we have already exceeded other pains, help to rekindle this light. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire us and strengthen us is also essential. Hope flourishes in environments where there is love, listening, and presence. And even when everything seems sterile, it can sprout like a flower between the stones, surprising with its strength. In moments of trial, hope helps us reinterpret events. We come to see obstacles not as punishment, but as parts of a growth process. Each difficulty faced with hope leaves learning, a brand of overcoming. It is as if the pain became a teacher, demanding but generous. As we choose to wait with confidence, we cultivate within us a safe space, a place where we know that everything is forwarding, even if we cannot see it yet. Hope also connects us to the future, but without disconnecting from the present. She invites us to dream of better days without ignoring the current reality. It is a balance between accepting the now and believing what is coming. This view brings us relief and also motivates us to act. To wait is not just stand still, is to prepare, to strengthen, to open yourself to the new. When we expect with faith, we are already in motion. We are already telling the universe that we believe in something bigger and better. Prayer plays an essential role in this process of hope. It is through it that we transform our anguish into trust. To pray is to deliver, to confess our weaknesses, but also to renew the certainty that we are not alone. Each prayer made in the midst of pain is a cry of hope, an act of resistance against despair. Prayer not only calms, but illuminates. It helps us remember who we are and who we belong to. With God, we are never drifting. Even in the largest storms, there is direction. Finally, living with hope is an act of active faith. It is walking in the rain, believing that the sun will come. It is keeping your head up, even when your eyes are teary. Hope humanizes us and elevates us at the same time. It makes us more sensitive and stronger, more conscious and freer. As we choose hope, we reaffirm that pain does not have the last word, that there is beauty after chaos, that, even in difficult times, it is still possible to flourish, and that, by itself, is already a miracle. As we look at all the spiritual journey, we realize that each theme addressed connects as parts of the same plane, the plane of our inner transformation. The stories of faith present in the Bible show us that the big names also faced suffering, waiting, and doubts, and yet they were instruments of divine purpose. Joseph, Job, Moses, and so many others teach us that even when everything seems lost, faithfulness to God leads us to redemption. These narratives remind us that suffering is never the end, but an essential part of the way. Patience, as a virtue, proves to be indispensable in this crossing, not just as the art of waiting, but as a way of trusting God's time. True transformation does not happen overnight, but in silence, with consistency and delivery. Knowing how to wait is also knowing how to live. In the moments of pause, the soul is cut. We have learned to take a deep breath, to cultivate serenity, and to accept the present as it is. Without this patience, we lose the lessons hidden in the slowest phases of life. To transform through the challenges is to accept that the pain can be a bridge. The difficulty pushes us inward, forces us to review habits, beliefs, and behaviors. When we welcome discomfort with courage, something inside us changes. Life begins to have another texture, more depth, more sense. Each one struggle leaves a sign of light in our way, and even the falls drive us to something larger. True strength is born when we decided to continue, even without all the answers. Essential part of this process is to release the control. The more we try to force life to be as we want, the more we suffer. To give up control is to trust. It is allowing divine wisdom to lead us by paths that we might never choose, but that lead us exactly where we need to go. This requires humility, but also faith. And as we let go of the reins, we find that there is freedom in delivery. The burden decreases, life flows, peace grows, and the soul aligns with its true destiny. Throughout the walk, we realize that the great miracles are in the small details. A gesture, a look, a word. Everything can be a sign. When we train our eyes on God's presence in simple things, we become more sensitive and grateful. Spirituality is alive in everyday life. It's not just the big events that matter, but the way we live every moment. This recognition changes everything. Life gains new color, new sound, new meaning. Prayer, in turn, is the link that keeps everything connected. It is in it that we find strength, discernment, and relief. To pray is to trust, to open the heart without masks. We don't have to have beautiful words, just be sincere. Prayer gives us the balance, faith, hope. It brings us closer to God and also to ourselves. By praying, we don't just change the world around, we change our interior mainly. And so, the transformation happens from the inside out. Finally, this reflection is an invitation: trust in the process, embrace the mystery, and walk with faith. There is a divine plan by guiding every step of yours. Nothing is in vain. Nothing is too small to have no value. Every challenge, every silence, every restart makes a bigger story yours. A story written with love, patience, and purpose. May this message touch your heart and inspire you to live with more truth, gratitude, and courage. You are ready for something extraordinary, and it starts inside you. If this message has touched your heart, don't keep it just for you. Share with someone who needs to hear these words today. And if you are not registered yet, subscribe now to the channel and activate the bell to continue receiving content that feeds the soul and strengthens faith. Together, let's follow this journey of growth, light, and purpose.